So if you're like me and spend a lot of time on the internet, you've probably seen videos and clips of this one anime recently. Now, whilst I normally don't really talk as much about anime and such as I used to, mostly because I don't watch it as much, there are times where I actually still do. But that's not what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on one specific anime, or well, manga, that I've been reading recently that I've found really enjoyable, not because of the manga being fictional like you would normally expect, but rather because of its base in the real world. You see, I'm a sucker for realism, or at least trying to base things in realism. A great example of this is Fullmetal Alchemist, where a lot of the time, even though things are fictional and it's a fictional world, it tries to put a base in realism, making it so you can heavily relate to the characters in the story being told to you, which is kind of hard to do when you're creating a fantasy story, and that's normally why I end up being a sucker for these type of anime and TV shows. Which is why it's probably not a big surprise for anyone who already knows this show, but one of my favorite shows recently, or well, rather say one of the shows I've been reading and watching a lot recently, is Oshi No Ko. You see, I don't like reading mangas or any books at all overall online, but this one I've actually been actively reading on my phone, which is incredibly uncomfortable, may I add, but I did it because I genuinely enjoy it and think it's really good. And whilst I could do like I've been doing with Whisper Me a Love Song, I could just pick up the manga and read the physical books. That's expensive and I don't have a lot of money, so subscribe if you want to maybe potentially help with that in the future. I need 1K, thanks. That was fully improv, by the way. But what is it that makes Oshi No Ko's base in realism that impressive? Well, I think the thing is that a lot of people have expectations going into this show. You look at it and you think, oh, this is gonna be your typical idol anime, but it isn't, and not in any ways. It shows more so a realistic showcase of the showbiz world that a lot of people want to take part in, but it's not really the happy come happy go world that a lot of people expect. You see, just because it's an idol anime doesn't mean they can't take twists and turns that are heavily unexpected. And even then, this isn't even an idol anime. It is more so a drama series, and potentially you could even argue a filler, with the fronting of an idol anime to try and make it look more casual or lighthearted. But that isn't really the case for this one. It tries to really show the harsh reality that sometimes can come in what we call the show business, and it has its effects on people that you maybe wouldn't always expect, and it hits some pretty serious notes like suicide, depression, stalking, teen pregnancy, PTSD, social anxiety. All of these things are heavily hit on by this show and showcases them and how terrible some of these can be. And the side of show business that it tries to show isn't only the positive side where you expect it to be super cool and showing all of these cool things that you see all the time on movies and such, and how it works from behind the scenes to a degree, but it also tries to show the realism in it, in the sense of that it's not all fun and games. It's competitive and it can be very hurtful for the people in the industry. And the anime and manga showing all of these different points and doing it really well makes it so you don't know what's coming next. You're excited to see what they're gonna do next and what's gonna happen next, to the point where you don't really know what to expect out of the show. And that is a wonderful thing, because the more predictable a show is, the less interesting it becomes over time, and I think that's something that Oshi No Ko really nailed in this sense. And it does this with amazing animation, art direction, and some of the best music I've heard in a long time, at least in an anime. Whilst a lot of anime like Your Lie in April and Made in Abyss has amazing soundtracks, it normally doesn't have an effect on me to where I start actively thinking about the soundtrack, but that is actually something that Oshi No Ko has done with the anime so far, even though it's only 7 episodes deep. And to put in perspective, as I'm reading the manga, I'm actually way ahead of the anime at the moment, which makes me really excited for episode 8, because I want to see how the soundtrack is developed and works along with the next episode and the visuals and the story coming with it. It's a really good and exciting anime, to where if you haven't seen it and you enjoy anime, you might as well. It's really good, and a lot of people probably didn't expect it to be what it is. Just in the first episode, I remember being very surprised by one of the main plot twists at the end of the first episode. Whilst I watched it with my good friend Neto Nixon, who also used to be my co-caster in the Smash scene, he also knew what was gonna happen, but I didn't. And I remember sitting there being like, oh, that's not gonna happen, there's no way! Oh boy, I was wrong! But I think that's what makes it so great. It breaks your expectations of the show in the very first episode, making it so you have no clue what's gonna happen for the rest of the anime. And it consistently does this and makes it incredibly interesting throughout its process. And something I really want to talk about is the opening, because Yaosobi fucking nailed it. It is one of the best anime openings I've heard in a very long time. It not only nails the theme of the anime really well, with a heavy-hitting beat, beautiful animation, and a generally great melody, but it's just so captivating and catchy that I end up looking like this. But you know, sadly I'm not a baby waving around light sticks. I'm just a baby. With all of that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I wasn't planning on making this video until earlier today, and it was something I was not planning on doing originally at all, because I felt like I was done with covering anime content. But then again, I made this channel to talk about things that I personally like, which is why I tend to switch my topics a lot. And I felt like it would be kind of unreal for me to not cover this, because the current content I do on my channel was started with covering anime content. And whilst I've stopped doing that as much, mostly because I don't watch anime as much, I still feel like that's something I really wanted to do, and so I decided to do it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.